Hey there, welcome to Rave Culture Cast, your weekly guide to the EDM community, music festivals, and more, hosted by me, Emma Capotis. Each week, I'll be covering everything from dance music culture, industry news, trending topics, and festival tips, advice, and reviews. You can also expect to hear stories from ravers, artists, business owners, and more. Tune in every Wednesday for your weekly dose of peace, love, unity, and respect. Hey guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast, your weekly guide to the EDM community, music festivals, and more. I'm your host, Emma Capotis. Welcome to today's episode. You guys, I've got a different setup. If you're new here, you wouldn't recognize it, but I'm kind of switching things around, and I'm, going to be replacing my backdrop, figure out where I want to film future episodes. So, right now I'm kind of looking out the window and it's snowing, and it's such a cozy, just cozy, warm Sunday afternoon. I've got my cozy PJs on. It's a fucking vibe. So excited for today's episode, just to cue you guys in on what's been going on, catch you up on my life. Our puppy is officially here. He has been home now for almost 2 full days. And I was a little nervous, maybe you would hear him crying in the background, but he is the most wonderful little boy, and he is so good. And Brian is watching him downstairs. So I'm still trying to figure out what my filming schedule is going to be and everything, but he is wonderful. So I'm filming a weekly vlog this week so you guys can meet Ollie, our new sheepadoodle puppy, who is such a joy. I'm already in love. So that's been going on. All I've been doing all weekend is playing with him. Already, I feel like I don't have anxiety anymore. It just having an animal in the house just makes you feel so much better. So that's what's been going on with my life. Also, just wanted to plug something really quickly. If you guys want some daily music recommendations, I on a whim decided to do this series over on my TikTok page at Emma Capotis called Daily Dose of Dance, and I'm challenging myself to share a new song with you every day that I'm really, really loving. So if you want to, go follow me on TikTok and check that out. I'm going to have a ton of recommendations coming at you, and I'm just going to keep this going as long as I possibly can. So that is everything for you guys. You know the drill. If you're enjoying the podcast, please consider rating, reviewing, subscribing, doing all of the things. You can always connect with us at Rave Culture Cast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Discord, Facebook, all of the places. All right, with that being said, quickly, I want to mention a friend of the podcast, which is Zound. So one thing you guys need to know, if you are going to shows, festivals, raves, I don't care, one of the most important things you need to always bring with you is a pair of earplugs. I know so many people who do not take this seriously. So many people go to shows without them. And I can tell you from experience of not wearing them for years that it will permanently damage your hearing. So please take this seriously. I personally use the high fidelity earplugs from Zound, Zound. Their website is their website is experiencezound.com. I have been wearing them for years now. I have multiple pairs with me. I always bring extras just in case some of my friends forget them, but it is an absolute necessity. So what high fidelity earplugs do is they block out all of the damaging levels of decibels in music so that you still preserve the sound quality. So it doesn't sound muffled. It's not like a cheap pair of earplugs you would get at a CVS or something. These are high fidelity, so it still preserves the sound of the music, and they really, really protect your hearing. So I do not go to shows without them anymore. So if you guys want to stock up and save, you can head over to experiencesound.com and use code EMMAK for 10% off. That's code EMMA, the letter K, for 10% off at Zound. Please take care of your hearing, you guys. Alrighty, with all that being said, let's dive into our oldie but a goodie. So this week I wanted to throw in some dubstep at you. I know we're mixing it up, but I was actually reading an article over on festivalinsider.com, and it was 10 classic dubstep tracks you should know. And it totally reminded me that the song exists because I haven't listened to it in so fucking long. But this week's pick is Adventure Club's remix of Crave You, which came out in 2010. It's so good. I'm not even I don't even listen to Adventure Club that often, but because of where they came from and how they established themselves as one of the premier dubstep artists around the early 2010s, they had such a unique, distinct sound. This one, Gold, was another one. I don't know, Crave You just has such an incredible drop still to this day, and I would love being reminded of that like time in dubstep. So thank you, Festival Insider, for doing that article. Definitely go check it out, guys, if you want more dubstep recommendations. But I want to play a quick clip here of Adventure Club's remix that came out in 2010 of Crave You.
It's true, I crave you.
Alrighty, I hope you guys are enjoying the oldie but a goodie. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's talk about today's guests. So today is a very, very special episode. The conversation and topics we get into, probably the most important I've ever had in the podcast. And I know I say that sometimes, but like, oof, this one got me heated. This one got me fired up. These women are incredible. I look up to them. And I think what they're doing is really, really amazing for this industry and this community. So today I have the powerhouse duo that is LP Giobbi and Lauren Spalding, aka Hermixalot. So Lauren is a music industry veteran. She has worn many different hats in this industry and has done artist management and consulting. She is the managing member of Sophie Tucker's Animal Talk Collective, and she's also a co-founder of Femme House, which we're going to talk a lot about today. And then Leah, who goes by LP Giobbi, is an artist, DJ, producer. She's a pianist as well, and she's also a co-founder of Femme House. So having both of them be able to come on the podcast to talk to you today about Femme House's mission and what they're trying to do by closing the gap of inequality for women and non-binary artists and creatives. It's amazing. So you're going to learn about Femme House, which is a nonprofit. It's an educational platform. They're now expanding into live events. So quickly before we talk to them, I wanted to mention that Femme House is on tour. They're going on tour this winter, spring. I think what they're doing is fucking amazing. It's really, really special. So they're not only doing live shows, they're going to be celebrating music, but they're also going to have an educational aspect to it. So before every show, they are hosting free in-person production workshops with Ableton certified trainers. So Ableton has partnered with them, which is amazing. So they're doing all these workshops. You can go on their website on Femme House and you can buy tickets to the show, or you can buy tickets to the workshops as well, but there are limited spots. I know a lot of them are filling up. And it said, our intro to Ableton live workshop will give you the basic tools to start making MIDI and audio sounds in Ableton Live and leave the classroom feeling confident to start your musical journey. Fucking awesome. Love what they're doing. Please go out and support them on tour. I will be at the show in Brooklyn on Saturday, March 5th. So you guys in the tri-state area, I best be seeing you there, okay? I best be seeing you there. All right. Really important episode coming up. I would love it if you could show your support, share a link with someone today, send this out, make this your Instagram stories. Let's blow this up. Tag Femme House, tag Lauren and LP. And with all that being said, please join me in welcoming these incredible women to the podcast. All right, you guys. Today I am lucky enough to share this space with two incredibly hardworking women in the dance music industry who are using their platform to help create new opportunities and facilitate further education for women and gender expansive individuals through their nonprofit Femme House. I'm so honored to have them here, guys. I can't wait to learn more about their efforts and their careers. So please join me in welcoming LP Giobbi and Lauren Spalding, aka Hermixalot, to the podcast.
Hey.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Thanks for having us.
Of course. No, I'm so happy this came together, and I'm so excited for people to hear like about everything that you've got going on and hopefully inspire a lot of people today. So I kind of want to dive right in. I actually went back to your podcast and watched your interview together, and I just have to say I really, really respect your relationship with each other. It's a beautiful friendship. Can you tell me a little bit about how you guys like first met and connected?
Oh man, I don't know if we want to commit the actual tea to record, but I will say that
we definitely don't.
For my part, we definitely don't. Girl, we will offline about that. For my part, I think that there are people that come into your life that are just sort of undeniable. And for me, LP is one of those people, one of very few people actually. And I think that, especially the older I get and sort of like the more people that I meet and as like my role in the world expands, I think that there are people that are just, you're stuck with whether you like it or not. And that's a real blessing when it happens at the right time, at the right place. Her and I have been trying to do something legitimate that lasts for like however long we've been friends, like over a decade. And wow. I think to that point, like Femme House feels like a real catalytic moment, a real sort of like crystallization of,
we found
love and respect and admiration that we have for one another. Yeah, we finally found it, because girl,
we threw a real, actually the party was amazing. We threw an amazing party together in San Francisco that was wild and queer and disco, and we had some awesome underground house acts come and play, and that was our first foray. But it was definitely more about having fun and losing money than
nice
than anything tangible. This educational platform about visual representation and pushing forward women in dance space is definitely the right thing we landed on, but we learned a lot from those first experiences and friendship, and that's at the bottom of it.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Can I also just say, unrelated, but the amount of disco parties that are happening right now, there's like this resurgence. I don't know where I'm seeing it. I'm going with friends. It's like disco themed this weekend. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe we were too early. That's usually our problem. We were too
early. That is
everywhere.
A little ahead of the curve in a comical way.
Yeah.
Typically.
Oh, that's so funny.
So speaking of ahead of the curve, like the name of this party was ISIS, after the Egyptian goddess. And it coincided perfectly with the rise of the terrorist organization, which is why we couldn't give it any legs to see if we could have fun and make money both at the same time.
Yeah.
We only had like Middle Eastern names joining our Facebook group at the end of it, because our slogan was "I am ISIS, you are ISIS, we are ISIS," and
got it.
We were attracting the wrong demographic.
Yeah,
Needless to say, Facebook banned us.
Facebook got weird. We got suspended. It was a mess, but like
wasn't the right journey for you.
Wasn't the right journey. No, at the time, like you marketed, like that's how Facebook was the main form of advertising. And when they canceled us, we were like, this is a sign.
Yeah, we're gonna go in another direction.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The story as a whole is remarkably indicative of like who we are as people and as friends.
Oh no, well, I'm glad it worked out the way it did. And for people listening who may not be familiar with you, I want to hear a little bit about your backstories as well, and like what actually led you here. So can you chat a little bit about your backstory of like what led you to a career in the dance music industry? Why this industry above all else?
That's a question. Lola. I think damn it. The dance music industry, it feels often, even now, accidental. I've been in the music industry, period, for more than half my life. Mm-hmm. I've worked at labels and publishing companies and movie studios and all kinds of stuff, sort of coming to a head in artist management, not in the dance music genre. I think that, like I said earlier, like you find yourself in the orbit of people that can change your life in really unexpected ways. And that's sort of what happened for me via my friendship with LP. And as she grew her like sort of presence in the dance music industry as a producer and musician and DJ, it just brought like really wonderful creatives into my life. And it just so happened that they were all, dance music folks. I think something that I've been sort of like meditating on over the past like couple of years is, I think it's really a gift, even as it was unexpected to be specifically in dance music, because, dance music was created by Black people. Dance music was created by queer people. I'm both of those things. So it feels like a reclamation oftentimes on my part. And to that end, it feels like really fortuitous and almost like written in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I love that LP, like we're doing like a podcast, like literally recording a podcast, and LP's like doing emails. Like,
no, I'm doing emails. I like think ideas are popping into my head. I'm sorry, I'm writing them down.
No, you're good. No one else is here. It's just us. Yeah, I literally forget people listen to this sometimes. No, you're good. I love that though. I love that, like, things flow though, and you kind of like find your space and find kind of like where you are meant to be or end up. And there's like a lot of different doors you can take, but there is no right or wrong. So I'm glad you're here. It's exciting. And LP, what about you?
Oh, how did I get into what was the original question? How I got into dance music or in the music industry?
Led you to this career, yeah.
Oh my God. Well, what let me do this
I
career
was
is like
born.
the silliest, I feel like I shared this maybe on our when on
Festival
one of our other
Insider.
interview. Yes.
Mhm.
Did I share this? Like the silliest thing ever, which I had this really awesome workshop like session. I mean, I felt like therapy, but it was like a coaching session this morning.
Mm.
And I spent so much time talking about this experience and how like fearless I was and how
Mhm.
the older we get the more that can creep in. But anyways, I actually ended up like I was studying jazz piano performance in college, and I was about to graduate, and I was like, what how am I going to make a living?
Mhm.
And so I was reading a book called Bill Graham Presents, which is about the first promoter, or like one of the first kind of more famous promoters. He found the
Mhm.
Grateful Dead and like put on their first show, so he had a great life. And he left his and so the book is about all these, like, he worked with Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix and like all the greats of the 70s, and his story is like very amazing and salacious,
Mm.
and got me all excited about the music industry. And I found out that he left his company to a guy named Greg Perloff, who started Another Planet Entertainment. They do Outside Lands,
Mhm.
the Fox Theater, the Greek Theater in the Bay Area, and their office was next to my apartment in Berkeley. So I wrote a letter as to why I should be hired, and I walked down there and I pretended like I had a job, and I pretended like I had a meeting. I said, "I'm here to meet with Greg Perloff," which is the CEO of the company, and they let
Right.
me in because they thought I did, because I sounded so confident. And then they saw I was like a 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, and they were like, what?
Yeah.
Like he's busy, but he happened to walk out of his office right then. And so I walked up to him and I handed him a letter, and I was like, "This is why you should hire me." And he was like, "I'm not sure if I should call the cops or if I should read this."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And, he read it, and I got my first internship. And so that's where I learned what a promoter was, and an agent and a manager. And I was sort of on the industry side of things for a long time. That's where I met Lo. We met in the foxhole at drinking. Well, she was drinking bourbon, I was drinking white wine, which is still our go-to.
Yeah.
And that's where our history really started, which is special. And you know I feel really grateful as an artist to have learned the industry side first,
Mhm.
and to have formed some of those relationships that have continued to guide me throughout my career. And being an artist, it's weird to think of being an artist as a business, but in order to sustain yourself doing this, you sort of have to. And
Mhm.
so I learned a lot of awesome lessons and relationships through that beginning of my career.
That's incredible. I don't think I remember that story.
Maybe I didn't tell a story. I
Bold.
feel like honestly,
So
looking back,
bold.
I'm like, why the fuck did I think that was like okay? But it's like those things that you just do and think less and do more.
Right. If you never
That's what I'm
ask.
working on. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll never get an answer either way. So that's
Yeah.
incredible. Do you think, I mean, for people listening now, say if they want to be an artist or in this industry, like there's a traditional route of obviously going to school or doing something like that. And then there's people who can just post their music online now in SoundCloud or something like that and just get right into the industry that way too. I mean, for both of you having worked different jobs in that, do you think that has helped shape again, like who you are as an artist and helped you along the lines down line for Femme House?
That's a great question. And I feel like the thing that I get asked the most from budding artists is like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
do this? Like, how
Yeah.
do you get into the industry? How do you become an artist? How do you become,
Mm-hmm.
a manager, whatever? And the great and horrible thing about that answer is that there are a million ways.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one blueprint. Now to see, like, you look at a Sophie Tucker, and they put out drinking on SoundCloud, and then
Mm-hmm.
Paradigm heard it and immediately signed them, and then Ultra heard it, and like they just overnight, and then they were nominated for a Grammy. Like,
Right.
that's it. And then there's other stories like mine where you grind for 9 years, and
Yeah.
you're in different bands, and you learn all. You're starting as a jazz artist, then you do experimental electronic music, and then that leads to one relationship, and then you just there's
Mm-hmm.
like the road is windy and long, and both paths are wherever you need to be.
Right.
Lauren started at an awesome internship that when she was in high school. In college, high school is where you started, I
High
think.
school, yeah.
and that
That's
opened a door
crazy.
for her. And then she's, and then she's, I think that the one thing though that is true in all these cases is that seizing the opportunity that you were given, or like, really tackling,
Mm-hmm.
like Lauren opening that door and then like running through it and not letting any other door shut behind her ever again. I think
Right.
that the drive is the one common piece throughout all the different avenues of getting to where you are. But I
Yeah.
Yeah,
think,
I would add to that, the importance of community, and it's sort of one of the lessons that I wish I'd learned much earlier is like build outward. I think we get really concerned with building upward and like climbing a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
It's so much more effective to find people where they are and meet them where they are. Oftentimes, you'll find more people that are where you are and want to get to the same place. It's easier to bust down a door with 15 people versus one or two. I think one thing that we, really aim to do with Femme House is sort of like offer all of these resources that we have the privilege, quite frankly, of having because of our respective industry careers and getting to this point, but also offer community and sort of empower that community to say, here are resources that will fit you into this system that we've had the benefit of working through and working toward and now being a part of. But here are all the ways that you can change that system and break down that system and gatekeep that system in a way that's more community oriented and in a way that's more egalitarian. And, quite frankly, where you can sort of like choose your own adventure and build something that is really intrinsic to you as an artist and the community that you're building around you.
Yeah. No, I mean, the relationships that you guys are facilitating in the education is incredible. And I just wonder, since you are creating that space for so many people, like earlier in your career or even now, were there any either women, men, non-binary folks who were mentors to you or like really, really made a difference in your career?
Yeah, man. I mean, I personally, like LP sort of touched on it. Like I am in this industry because of a program called Yes to Jobs, which was a program out of LA that went to Black and brown high schools around Los Angeles and sort of provided pathways to the industry via paid internships. And it was founded by Black women, as most good things are. And they went around, in hindsight, it's so revolutionary, but, they went around to all of their friends, all of their Black and brown friends that were in executive positions and business positions at all these entertainment companies and said, I'm going to bring you a kid and you're going to teach them what you know. And, like LP said, like that opportunity was transformative because not only did I have a number of mentors that looked like me, that could sort of like reflect back my experience, such that I could avoid the pitfalls that often befall kids of color without access and without resources, without opportunities, and without like basic knowledge of how things work. But I could leverage that and do it for someone else, which is like sort of like why I'm here with Femme House at this point.
Yeah.
and for me, I like one of the most life-changing moments, like both tangibly and intangibly in my life, was I was in the studio. I was in this band, synth sci-fi experimental band, and I was waiting to record my synth parts, and I was reading an article about Grimes, the artist, who I don't know her personally, but she's changed my life. She in the article was talking about how she is her own producer and like was very adamant in making that clear that she is the producer of her records. And it was this ridiculous light bulb moment because I did have all the privilege in the world of being raised by parents who were like, had the ultimate belief in me, and you can do anything and you can be anything, and in fact will help support your education as a jazz piano player, like just like the trust and belief. And and it didn't even occur to me that I could be in the role as a producer because all the producers I'd ever met in my life were men, and it was wonderful experiences. But it just that taught me like the importance of visual representation, and how that subconsciously or consciously does affect what we think we can be and who we think we can be and what we can do. And that is the moment that I was like, I have to create something like Femme House one day, because we need more visual representations of, and I happen to be, you know, in music, and so that's like my avenue, but actually like thinking you can do anything and be anything is the ultimate empowerment, you know.
Right.
And we're doing it through this one avenue, but it's so much
Mhm.
greater than that. And meeting Lauren, and we're vomiting all these ideas, and you know, Lauren bringing this idea to life, and you know, putting structure and tangibility around it is how Femme House was born, which is, you know, I know in my heart the most important thing I'll ever do.
Yeah. No, you're so right. I mean, you have to see, sometimes you just have to see other people doing it to give you that push or make you believe that you can do it too. I get comments like that all the time. So,
Totally. Like, I just played this
yeah.
show, the most coolest I was having a bad week, but I played this show in DC recently, and this girl comes up to me afterwards. I was like walking to my car, and she runs out and she finds me, and she's like, I just want to tell you, I've been coming to this club for 10 years. I've never seen a woman on the stage, and I feel like now I can go home and do any fucking thing I want.
Right.
Like, that is it. That is what that feels like. That's what
Yeah.
visual representation. She's like, you know, she's like, I don't want to be a DJ, but I feel like I can go do anything. And like, that's
Right.
what it's about. And that was just such a cool moment of like, you know, back to why our why.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
I think that like what makes Femme House really powerful to me is, you know, like it touches exactly what LP just said. It's just like, yeah, we're doing it via, you know, production education and like DJ education, but like just the idea of trying something new and seeing other people try something new with you. For instance, I personally am starting to take like my own Femme House production classes for the first time, and it's like I've been wanting to learn how to produce music for literally more than half my life, and I'm just doing it. I literally built a platform to do it, and still took me 2.5 years to like actually do it. But like I think for us, like, yeah, you know, our little corner of the world is like dance music and like music in general, music production, like DJing. But what would most people do if they had an idea that they could do anything, or at the very least do one thing that they never thought that they could do?
Right.
I think that, you know, the community that we're building has made it very clear to us that, you know, not only are we empowering them how to use software and like DJ controllers and what have you, but like just take on anything that they're afraid of.
Right.
And that's really life-changing, especially for like generally marginalized groups, women and gender-expansive individuals and creators of color, et cetera. And I think that, like, as LP said, like that's our why with everything that we do with Femme House.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel too with the timing of everything? Because obviously you started, I think it was May 2019, correct? Like launching around then, and then we go into a pandemic, and now we're coming out hopefully the other side of it. But do you feel like there's also like, I feel like there's a correlation between like the growth of it and like 2022 is going to be your fucking year here. But like, does it feel like divine timing with the way it's grown and how things have like unfolded in the past almost
This
2 years?
is so like, this is the thing about the silver lining.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought, oh man, this is, my dad always says this, is it a broken leg day or is it a get out of the war day? Like, I thought that the pandemic, like we had just launched, right? And like we had all these like we were doing our workshops in person. And so, you know, we just launched, we found the educator, we were like doing these in-person workshops, 12 people max, just and you had to be in Los Angeles because that's where we were located. And then the pandemic hit, and I felt like this is a broken leg day. And I'll just quickly tell the story. It's like this guy breaks his leg, and he's like, "Oh, my whole summer is ruined now. I have a broken leg." And then there's a draft for the war, and then he gets out of the war because he has a broken leg. So it's like, it turned out to be a get out of the war day because we were forced to shift online. We were forced to learn how to teach online and, you know, do the curriculum online and and create a platform to do it online, which was the best thing that ever happened to us because our community expanded truly internationally. You know, we partnered with, she is the producer, Alicia Keys' nonprofit, and we're able to reach 3,000 people in a day, you know, who signed up for this curriculum, truly all over the world. And that gave us confidence in ourselves, and saw that there is a need for this, and people do want to do this and learn this and push themselves and learn new skills. And so with that momentum and the growth of our community, we're so pumped for 2022 now that the world is opening back up, because we're tiptoeing into the live space.
Hell yes.
Yeah, we're about to announce our first Femme House tour. So you heard it first here.
Hell yeah.
Are you able to say that?
I know. I'm
girl,
This comes out in a month. Don't worry.
Oh, it comes out in a month. Okay,
Yeah.
great, perfect. If we're not announced by then, there's a terrible problem. And so we're doing in-person workshops during the day at the city before the show, and then all-female lineup at night at the club all over the U.S.
Wow.
You know, we'll be doing some stage takeovers. We'll be doing some festival stage takeovers. We're like, so we just put together a board of just a fire board with some of our favorite people in the music industry who have signed on to much of our dismay and disbelief, but continue to believe in us. And, you know, the Moogs of the world and the Abletons of the world have thrown down and shown their support. The Insomniacs. It's been fucking mind blowing.
That's incredible.
I
can't
wait. From like a really sort of boring like executive perspective, like just to give you an idea of where we were last year versus where we are now, like as LP said, like, you know, we were in what we can call like phase like 1A of our growth plan, in that we were quite literally like fetuses, right? And overnight that changed, and it had to change, and more importantly we had to respond. So to give you an idea, like the first time that we had to move our curriculum online, it was because a shelter-in-place order came down in the state of California and Los Angeles, and that was like, I think like 3 or 4 days prior to what was going to be our next workshop. So we had to change on a dime. We had to teach ourselves how to do this other thing, and we had to message it. We were so busy teaching ourselves how to do this thing that the messaging got sort of like lost in translation, and we sort of just like threw a message up on social media, and we had like 300 people sign up. And typically we were used to serving like 10 to 20 people. Yeah. And I think that sort of empowered us, right? We were like, oh shit, like people actually do care, and there's a greater demand. And so like we skipped a bunch of steps in our growth strategy. And I think that it taught us like to sort of like jump in tits first in the way that this community that we had no idea that we built in this way, because we weren't there in our growth plan yet, was available and ready to engage with us. And it pushed us to be better. I mean, there's only 4 of us. We all work remarkably part-time on it. And we responded and created this thing in service to this community that was there already, that we actually had no idea about until we had to know about it. I say all that to say that like the Femme House community is so important to us for a number of reasons, but like in the way that like we're trying to encourage all of y'all to be empowered and like try things new, you do that for us every day.
Oh my God. I can't even imagine the amount of people like you've impacted literally within the almost 2 years that you've been doing this. I mean, 2020 was an extremely foundational year, right? Like we were forced to adapt, and then 2021, we're still like picking up the pieces, but looking back on it, like the growth that actually did happen, right? It's just, well, there's so many systems that were broken that we didn't realize were broken until we were completely forced, like smacked in the face with it. And like, you don't have any other choice but to deal with this right now. But like, look at all the doors that opened and how it turned out perfectly. So it's incredible. Do you have any favorite stories from some of the people that have taken your programs or anything like that?
Mine is, this past year, Memorial Day weekend, LP came and played a show here in the Bay Area where I'm based. And it was the first show I'd been to in probably, 2 years or whatever. And I was freaked out. I had a new baby at home. I didn't really want to go. And I went, and LP was like, hey, yo, go meet this girl. And her name is Hannah. Her DJ name is Sokio. And she started crying and thanking me for Femme House, because during the pandemic, she found herself wildly depressed. I think she had just lost her job and like broken up with her boyfriend, and all these things had happened. And she was like, what the fuck am I going to do? She came across a Femme House Friday and saw a day of female producers and was like, I think I'll learn how to DJ. Why not? And she was opening DJ for LP's show.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
the promoter booked her. Like, we didn't know that's how, she's like, I'm actually here because of Femme House. And we were like, what?
That is
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
And that is like, for me, that is, that is very indicative of our why. The fact that, like, number one, she found community with Femme House when the entire world was looking for community, is really, really special. And, the fact that it empowered her to try something new, and that she did try that thing new, and that she got so good at it. And we had no idea that she got so good at it that this promoter for our first show in years booked her. Like, that is exactly what this machine was built for.
It's crazy. Yeah, that's insane.
I had a woman email me that she found us also in the pandemic. Saw that we had online courses and signed up for them, and she said that she just sent me this. I mean, it was so cool that she took the time to do this, especially now after knowing her story. She was home during the pandemic with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and was having a very hard time. I can't imagine having a kid in the pandemic.
Yeah.
God bless you, Lo. And like extra whoa. And she she was struggling, and her partner recognized that and was like, we will do everything, I will rearrange my work schedule, and like you need like 2 hours to yourself, once a week, like we'll figure out how to do that. And she used those 2 hours to take Femme House course, and she started making music, and she sent me the track that she made at the end of one of the courses. And she was like, I don't even know if this is any good, but I'm just so proud of this. And like the, spending this time being creative and working on myself changed my entire like mental output. And also that I can be a mom and still learn a new skill. And like my life is maybe just beginning, actually, it just like,
chills.
Totally. And what that does for me, like as an artist, as somebody who's like has a lot of fear about having babies and being able to do this, and like a woman who was 2 young kids and is starting this journey and is doing it, like she's more inspiration to me that I could ever ask for, and like that makes me feel like it's this cool feedback loop, like now I feel like I can do this, and she thought that she could do it because we're doing it. And it just feeds itself, and it's a cycle that I feel so grateful to be a part of.
Moms are on another level. I can't even talk about it. Like I have so much, I'm the same as you. I have so much respect. I just like look at parents, and especially after this past year, and I'm like the respect and the patience, I can't even imagine.
Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. But that is really beautiful. I mean, I can't even imagine how many people's lives have completely shifted course in the past year and a half, and diving into live events too. I definitely want to talk about that, because one of my questions for you is I would love to see a Femme House show, tour, something like that in the future. So how is that kind of coming together for you guys? Whatever you can share.
So when does this air? In a month?
Yeah, about a month. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, so for sure. The Femme House tour is going to be, it starts the last week of February and it goes through the month of March, Women's Month, and ends mid-April. And we're doing a lot of stops. We're doing a show in Canada, and then mostly all around the US. We'll do something around Miami Music Week. And we're doing something at Tree Fort in Boise, which is fun and random. And then the rest of the stops will be their own. It's a Femme House tour, bringing in an artist from the UK called Baklava, BKLAVA. I think I did that right. And she is amazing. She's a little BBC Radio 1 darling, and is a wonderful producer and singer. We're releasing a track together also at the beginning of the tour.
Amazing.
And also Vanessa will be in a few of the shows, and Korean will be on a few of the shows, and then local openers on all the stops, and workshops during the day. So we'll be having Ableton certified instructors help facilitate the workshops alongside myself. And so yeah, we're working on a lot of stops along the way with universities and more speaking stuff and panels and stuff. But all of that will be announced soon.
So cool. I'm like dying laughing because I knew that artist name. Baklava is how you said it, correct? That's how you pronounce it?
Yes.
My Greek ass thought that was like, there's a dessert called baklava.
So yes, she gets that. So
my Greek ass literally thought it was baklava this whole time.
She actually talks like when you meet her, she'll bring that up. So like everybody thinks it's like the dessert, but it is. Yeah, she's fucking baklava. Awesome. She's a hoot.
Oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And that'll be really, really fun about around Miami Music Week. I mean, you're doing a lot of different things too. Like you've got the stream, you're doing the podcast, and you have the Tech Crush Tuesday as well. Like how important is it for you to keep like finding these new artists and giving them a platform?
Well, I think that the most important programming we do actually is the Women of Color Scholarship, which I'll let Lo
Mm-hmm.
touch on, because I there was a moment where I realized that in all the workshops, everybody's looking like me, because I think that really
Mm-hmm.
comes back to visual representation. Seeing somebody that looks like you and believing you can do it, and the importance that the importance that I work to make sure that not everybody does look like me in these courses.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that, like everyone else during the pandemic, we sort of like took a pause and thought about, our greater mission. And it's just like, we're an equity mission. And yes, but like, what does equity actually mean? All women does not equity inherently make, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we spend a lot of time meditating about how to not just make things equitable, but inclusive and safe. So, a thing that we did like super quickly was like make all of our paid offerings free for creatives of color. And we created a scholarship for creators of color. So like when we think about like equity and inclusion, it's not just about like access, but equitable access, right? And like
Mm-hmm.
equitable, this idea of like removing barriers of entry, because not everyone has the same barriers of entry. So a big barrier of entry for the music industry, insofar as like learning how to produce or DJ, is
Mm-hmm.
like something really simple that most people don't think about if they're able to help it, is like the cost of gear. Well, when I think about that, like people of color make pennies on the dollar compared to non-people of color, and
Right.
gear is also really expensive. So like, what's the biggest way we can impact their barrier to entry? We can just give them some gear.
Mm-hmm.
So like little things like that is like sort of like forcing ourselves to think outside of this sort of like umbrella term of like equity and inclusion, which is like all the rage right now in like every industry. We don't want to just seem like we're being equitable. We want to take actionable steps to be equitable. And like I said earlier, the dance music industry was built on creatives of color's backs. It was built on
Mm-hmm.
queer people's backs. It was built on gender non-inclusive people's backs.
Dance
And
music is fuck yeah.
Yeah.
we,
Yeah.
we deserve to inherit that kingdom. You know what I mean? There's no
Mm-hmm.
reason that this industry, the faces of these industries should be cis het white men. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, like a big thing that we intend to do with this big machine that we have is sort of reclaim that industry for the people that actually built it, and ensure that they're, partaking in the same opportunities and given the same resources to
Yep.
reclaim it, and like participating monetarily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what, when we think about like, one of our core tenets are like education and visual representation and
Mm-hmm.
lifting as we climb. And that goes like triple for creators of color in our community. And like, we have to do a lot of internal work to say like, like, hey, yo, actually all these workshops and online courses are all
Mm-hmm.
white. Like, that's not diverse
Our goal
in any
here.
way.
Yeah.
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 And
So
even like the
that's
guests that we have on our radio show, and the guests that we have on
Mm-hmm.
our Femme House Friday Twitch, and like what are we putting out in the world?
Right.
yeah.
Exactly.
And like, just like some quick fixes is like 50% of any place that you see anything with Femme House's name on it you'll also see 50% queer people. You'll also see 50% creators of color. Because you talk about visual representation, that has to apply to everyone.
Yeah, as it should be. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
I what you guys are doing is incredible. And even I'm glad you brought up about the gear, because to be honest, that's something I didn't even think about at first too. Like it's one thing to be able to take the programs and learn, but it's a whole another thing to be able to invest, make that investment.
And this is where I want to shout out Ableton right now, because one of it, that having a computer that's good enough to run the software, that the DAW program that allows you to produce music, like that's a huge expense. The MIDI keyboard, the audio interface. I mean, it goes on and on. And but one of the big expenses is the DAW, is the program that allows you to make the music. And Ableton has given licenses to everybody who signed up for She's the Producer, and continues to just like, anybody in our community who needs a license gives access to that. And it's a very expensive program. And it's like, they don't bat an eyelash. They have been unbelievably supportive and champions of this. It's which is so cool to see, because they're like, there's a handful of, major DAWs, and most electronic artists are using Ableton. And like, they was just like, without even questioning or thinking about it, giving access to that has been like mind-blowing to see people in positions of power doing that.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it comes back to community, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I want to tell a quick story about that. Like, having not known our own strengths just yet, when we launched She is a Producer, just before we launched She is a Producer, and Ableton had committed to giving licenses. They're like, oh, how many would you like for, like the launch? And I was like, oh, like 100 should be fine for like the first couple of weeks.
And we were scared to say 100,
Right.
Terrified. And like, it was just like, cool. And I was like feeling like, cool, I got buy-in, like my executive swag is on right now. Great. And then we opened signups, and within 12 hours, we had literally 2,000 signups, such that I freaked out and just like turned it off real quick. And I was just like,
I need to write an email real quick.
Yeah. I was like, because we had promised everybody who signs up gets that. We were like, oh, fuck.
And I was like, fuck, man, I fucked up here, bro. Like, my projections were way off.
Right.
And I called them, and I was like, hey, guys, bad news. And literally, without batting an eye, they were just like, literally, I was like, maybe we can get like, I don't know, 2,000 people have signed up. So if we could just cover them, that's fine. I'll turn the course off. Like, it's literally like nothing ever happened. And they're like, 2,000, 200,000, we do not care.
Wow.
You can have these licenses. This is important work. And, they've been riding with us from day one too. They gave us their studio in Pasadena for our very first workshop. So they've grown with us, and they've encouraged our growth with their support. So we're really, really grateful for that relationship.
I love that. I love to see companies actually like doing the action, right? Not saying the thing, but doing the action. Totally. And that's an incredible partner to have. What I mean, for people listening to, just like outside of Femme House as well, just industry wide, who want to either make a difference, or they're thinking to themselves, well, like, what can I do? Like when I see a lineup come out for a festival that isn't diverse in any way, shape, or form, it's the same names we're seeing. Like, what can they actually do to help a change? Because it's going to take time, but what can they do as a fan to just like get involved and help make a difference?
I'm personally, I don't know if this is like okay to say, being that I'm being recorded right now, and
I'm word sick.
One of the executive faces of Femme House, but I'm a big fan of a public dragging. I love a good old public dragging. In fact, I welcome public dragging to Femme House. Like, that's the only. I just love a good old fashioned internet dragging. I think that, oftentimes, unfortunately, in this climate, like, a lot of executives aren't listening, and what better way to get someone to listen than to affect their bottom line, and to affect the press that they're getting, and to affect their social comments. I love a good public dragging. That's what I would say. I'm not going to go on Femme House official record. I'm going to say I'm not an officer of Femme House right now in this moment. I'm just Lauren Spalding, private citizen.
Yeah. Totally fair. Yeah. LP's like jotting a note down.
No, I was actually, I was just doing. I was like,
she's like emailing our board of directors, like, we have got a problem.
She went rogue. No, I agree with that. I mean, I support everything you say always. And also, some other tangible things is on our website, there's actually a link called Get Involved. And it lists out all the ways to support, which are, donations, sharing a graphic, through your own social channels about what we're doing, with the links to, sign up for a workshop yourself, sign up for a course yourself. There's what else? Make a donation, take an online course, support our scholarship, spread the word. Those are all sort of, and it's right on our website, which is thisisfemmehouse.com/involved.
Perfect transition there. I mean, no, I think I could not agree with you more. It's just hard because I've been in the same conversation multiple times, like not calling anybody out, but I've been in conversations with men specifically where I've said like, oh, I wish this lineup was more diverse or we saw better representation on it. And I'll get the same comment like, well, it's not about that. It's about just like talent at the end of the day.
You know what's so crazy?
I get that. I've gotten that multiple times and I'm always like,
that's why I like it dragging. That's why I like it
Good
dragging.
for you for bringing it up. I think that's fucking awesome. And what's so crazy is that it seems to be changing. Like there are more women producers releasing music. There are more like I see more of us like in actual music making form. I don't see the reflection yet on the in the live space.
Right.
I don't see the reflection on the festival lineups and on the club lineups, and I don't understand that. I'm wondering if it's like we're a little bit behind because of rescheduled festivals and shows from a few years ago, and we're trying to work our way out of that. But it's like promoters and agents and managers aren't really being held accountable. They're like, are they really examining their roster? Are they examining their lineups? And that is it's, I mean, EDC 285 acts, and how many there were like 80, how many women?
Oh, it was like crazy low.
Less than
it was like 20 or something. Yeah.
So this is why I'm gonna put my executive hat back on and like the first time was like a very funny joke, but this is why I suggest a public dragging. Oftentimes the justification for lack of diversity at every level is one, well, we're not getting enough talent. And they criticize the development channel, right? Well, like if the candidates aren't out there, what are we going to do? They do this in every industry and every place where diversity is called for. And two, well, people don't want to, especially in the entertainment industry, people don't want to see it. People aren't going to pay to see a half female lineup. That's bullshit. And the only way you can tell them that's bullshit is by publicly dragging them online and saying publicly, loudly, that's bullshit. That's the only way. And historically, throughout history, boycotts and like withholding money and being loud as fuck is the only way change has been made. That's true of the civil rights movement. That's true of the gay rights movement. And like, not to say that this is that, but the only way to hit corporations where they hurt is in their pockets and in the court of public opinion. And that is why I say, go fucking drag their asses. For the first time in history, we have egalitarian access to content. So make content and be loud about that content that says, y'all are bullshitting. Like Live Nation, bullshit. Sorry, like no. And like here are 15,000 tweets about why that's bullshit. And that's how, I think that is how you move the needle and force these companies that don't want to catch up because they have specific interest in keeping things at the way they are and to change.
Well, and I also think like I'm my partner is a promoter in the music industry, so we've had a lot of heated conversations.
And I drag him every chance I get.
We have. Anyways, and he booked an electronic festival for a very long time, and there were very few women on it, me being one of them, and we're fucking, so I didn't count that. And you know, I think that what we had to grow into is like this feedback loop that happens is that you get booked on a festival because you were booked on a festival. Promoters can be lazy and they look at what are other promoters booking, you know, and they look at where they are on, like where your name falls on the lineup, and like that's sort of like your level and your status. So if you're not even on there, it's hard to get on there, which is the problem. And the conversations we have had is, listen, your top, you know, your headliners, your top line of your poster, maybe top two at best, are selling you tickets. The rest are like, you're excited they're on it, but you weren't going to maybe buy a ticket for them, but you're going to go check them out once you're at the festival. Like, cool. So that means that you have an opportunity to replace 45 artists with artists who you don't need to necessarily sell the ticket. But once they get on that festival and once they get in front of your fans and they start gaining their own fans, then they're going to get on the next festival and then they're going to build their career that way. So it's just like realizing the power that you have with your undercard and utilizing that undercard to affect change. And that is on the promoters.
Yep. Could not agree with you more. I mean, and from the fan perspective too, even the little things like social media obviously is a huge part of this as well. So like following these people on their platforms, streaming their music, like you're building up their platform, which makes them more visible in the space. So like those are the like bottom level you can do.
Yeah, like totally. As a fan, that is absolutely what you can do. That does help.
Yeah. And this is completely random analogy, but it's the best I can think of right now. I know like I'm very, very into makeup side thing, but there was a big thing within the last few years, where companies were releasing like 12 shades of like foundation and things like that. And it got to the point where like enough people online on social media were like, fuck this, we're not buying your foundation. This is unacceptable. And then you have like Rihanna come out with her Fenty Beauty and she launches with 42 shades right out the gate. And it set the standard for the beauty industry. And then everybody had to respond because people were like, no more fucking 12 shade lines. This is bullshit. And
that's a great analogy.
It's changed the beauty industry. And that happened within the last few years. Like people will rip
a black woman changed that. A black woman changed the standard. Shocking.
So it's just like, that's one little example, but enough people were like, fuck that. If you even try to come out the gate with like something like that, it's not acceptable anymore. So yeah. Oof. This conversation got me heated. I love it. I'm done. Thank you guys so much for being here. And lastly, plug where everybody can connect with you.
At
thisisfemmehouse.com.
Yep.
Everything is This Is Femme House. But Femme House is spelled FEMMEHOUSE. And everything is This Is Femme House.
Everything will be linked down below. Donations, anywhere you want to get involved. You guys are fucking fantastic. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. We love you.
Go crush your tour.
Thank you for all of your support. We love you. Thank you. You're great at what you do. Thank you.
Alrighty, you guys. I really, really hope you enjoyed that conversation. Again, I'm heated up about it. We're going to be posting a ton of clips. So please go support Femme House, support Lauren, LP, show up to the tour, sign up for the workshops, you guys. Let's make this happen together. We need more women and non-binary folk in this space, producing, making music, working higher up positions in the industry. Like the more visibility we have, the better. So I hope to continue doing that myself. I hope to continue doing that on this platform because I would also love to be a CEO bitch in this space one day. So very excited about everything that they're doing at Femme House. Super pumped for the tour. I can't wait for March 5th. So let's dive into some news in our Rave Culture Cast recap here. So a couple festival announcements. Veld Music Festival, which takes place in Toronto in July, just dropped their lineup. They always have a really nice mix. I believe it's not just dance music. Actually, maybe it is just dance music. But they got a lot of different genres here. I mean, their lineup always stands out to me. I definitely want to hit this up at one point. Headliners are Alesso, Armin, Chainsmokers, Marshmello, Martin Garrix, Porter Robinson. So you've got like, a mix of mainstream in there. Who else stands out? You have Hulk Gang, which is 4B and Valentino Khan, AT Aliens, BTSM, Camel Fat. We've got Chris Lake, Dimension, Dom Dalla, Galantis, Gigi McGree, back-to-back Miha. They're making their rounds. I love it. Lane 8, Griffin, Jaws, John Summit. Cool. Like all my favorite artists are on this lineup. Medusa, Nightmare, Sonny Fodera, Will Clark, Vintage Culture, Wax Motif, Chami. Yep, this lineup was made for me. So maybe I'll be going out to Veld this summer. We'll see. But check that out, you guys. What other lineups? We did have, this one is ironic, Camp Nowhere, which takes place in Texas, in Dallas, in June. Literally to me came out of nowhere because I'm not that familiar with it, but this lineup's fire. It's Evan Gia, Fletcher, Lane 8, Porter Robinson, Nora and Pure, our girl LP Giobbi, and more Kismet, which is fucking awesome. So actually the June 10th show is Austin and the June 11th show is Dallas, Texas. So if you're in the area, I would 100% be going to that. We kind of got like a little bit of a cryptic message here from Ever After Music Festival, which I could be wrong, but I don't think we've had this since 2019, which is when I went because of the pandemic. Obviously in Canada, things are a little bit trickier. This is in Ontario, but Ever After is a bass music festival. I had the pleasure of going there and getting a media pass. So I do have some vlogs on my YouTube channel if you want to check it out. But a couple days ago, they posted that this Monday. So the announcement's already out. By the time you guys hear it, they were going to be revealing the dates for this year. So Ever After is making a comeback. I don't remember if I said this last week or not, so forgive me if I did, but Tomorrowland's full lineup is out. Don't look at the lineup flyer because you literally will not be able to read it. You need a fucking microscope. But if you go on their website, there's a full breakdown. It's insane. Now that there's 3 weekends, like you have 3 dates to look at, all 3 weekends. I am doing a full review of this lineup on my YouTube channel. So if you guys are curious, my take on some of these artists and stage hosts, definitely check that out. Okay, and then what else do we have? Odessa dropped their new single, which I think is absolutely fire. The Last Goodbye, and this is featuring a sample from Bette Lavette, who I believe is a famous R&B artist. Or soul singer, excuse me. So really, really cool. I love it. It's a 6-minute track coming out hot. Odessa kind of was never really like one of my favorite artists, but I respect the hell out of their artistry. And I'm really, really into the sound that they're doing. So I'm excited for the full album whenever it is that we get that. And then the last 2 things I want to mention, this is kind of like a sneak peek of the Tomorrowland lineup, but my girl Ryan Beckham, who is our Facebook admin, if some of you guys are in the Facebook group, pointed out to me on the Tomorrowland lineup that one of the artists that is on the Barong family lineup or stage, the Barong stage host, that's Yellow Claw's label. There was an artist called Eurotrash, which it's been brought to my attention that Eurotrash is Yellow Claw's house alias, which is very interesting to me. All these people coming out with house music. So just want to flag that, because if you guys are into house music and you're into Yellow Claw, then go see Eurotrash. I think that'd be really cool. I'm going to do a little bit more digging to see if there's any sets that they've done before. And then the last thing I thought was really fucking awesome. This was an article that we did over on Gray Area. Gray Area is the platform that I work for. They wrote a really cool article about this music festival called Flesh, which is coming to the United Kingdom. It's the first ever LGBTQIA plus electronic music festival. So get this. It says, all of the acts will be underrepresented. All of the acts will be underrepresented artists championing a spectrum of gender minorities and ethnicities. It's a 2-day celebration of house and techno, May 28th to the 29th in, I think it's 25 minutes from central London. Very, very cool, outstanding lineup of artists on here. And it says not only is Flesh looking to create visibility for minority artists, but the festival also strives to create a safe space for people from all walks of life. Very fucking cool. Go check them out. Flesh Music Festival. They've got a very sexy Instagram page. So loving it. Loving all these things happening. Love what Femme House is doing, guys. I like to see strides being taken and moves being made to make this a more equal and safe space for all genders. It's amazing. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for listening and supporting the podcast. Again, a big favor for you guys this week. Please make this your Instagram stories. Tag at Rave Culture Cast and Femme House. Tag Lauren, tag LP. Spread the word about Femme House's mission. I think it's really, really amazing. And I appreciate you guys being here. So if you enjoy, come join our Discord or our Facebook group. Our doors are always open for you. And all of the information and anything else that's important will be linked down below in the show notes, so you guys have that. But I hope you have an incredible Wednesday. Enjoy your week, and I will be back next week with a new episode. Bye, guys.